Hi, boys and girls. How are you? We're going to be continuing on our travels in Central America. We have learned about the artwork of Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras. We just did the dancing people of Honduras. And now we're going to be looking at the artwork of El Salvador. One of the things that we learned about earlier on in this unit was how to draw a toucan. And what I love about the art in El Salvador is they also make fancy birds, but they're flying. They're not sitting on a branch. And so it does two things. One, it shows distance. The other thing is it shows space going back. So distance going back, space between the bird and the ground. So you've got a lot to do with negative space. But it also changes the position of the bird, okay? So instead of having the bird go upright, we're gonna have the bird going sideways. So that's kind of interesting. It's very easy to draw these birds. They're a little bit what I refer to as abstract, right? We're not gonna have the long tail that hangs over with the claws. As you can see, this is what I refer to as stylized. So it's a stylized kind of a bird. We're going to be drawing this together today, so we need to get our supplies. So, of course, the first thing that I always like to remind everybody is if you have a pencil to start with a pencil. If you don't, that's okay. I have a lot of you in the upper school that really like to start with markers. That's fine, but if you have limited paper, be careful starting with marker because then you might want to throw it away and you're going to waste your paper. So if you have a pencil around, try to use that. I know that Ms. D handed out some pencils with some computers, so most of you should have them. So we're going to start with a pencil. If you have markers at home, you may take those out and crayons. So we're going to continue with marker and crayon work. I know that you're at home and many of you do not have materials for necessarily maybe gluing or cutting or painting. So a lot of the work that we're going to be doing together is going to be with marker, crayon, pencil, and such. Okay, so we're about to get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this bird out of the way and I'm going to be drawing and you're going to watch what I do. Just like we do in the classroom, I do it, you do it, just like that. Well, you already know. I don't even need to tell you. You're all so smart. So I'm going to take my black, oh, I forgot, we need paper. Don't forget your paper. If you're running out of paper, you can use lined paper. That's fine. It doesn't matter. You can use the back of an envelope, the back of papers maybe that were in your packet that are blank that you don't have to hand in. If you have to hand it in, don't use it. Okay, so what we're going to be doing first is we're going to start to create this bird that's flying. And if you notice, there's basically 4 parts to this bird. We're going to start with the head, the body. We'll have a little tiny beak and the 2 wings, okay? The wings and the beak are triangle shape. This head is an egg shape. And this is the shape over here that's just a little different. If I hold my bird this way, you'll see it almost looks like a dress, right? It's not that hard to do, but I'm going to show you how we're going to work on it together. So I'm going to put that over here. I'm starting with a marker as usual so that you can see what I'm doing. Because if I start with a pencil, you're not going to see it. So don't, if you have a pencil, start with a pencil, okay? All right, so here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the egg shape of the head and I'm going to start it over here. I'm going to slide this back closer to me so that I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with the egg shape. And the egg shape is not very big. An egg shape is another way of saying an oval. That's not that hard to do. So you start with your egg. Put it in the middle. We don't want it too low because we have to have the ground down here. We don't want it too high because then we can't fit the top wing. So somewhere in the middle. Next step, easy peasy, the beak. That's just a triangle. So easy, right? There's nothing to it. When we do the body is also really easy. I'm going to start by making a happy mouth at the, where the neck would be. So right about here. I'm going to start with a happy mouth, and I'm going to take that happy mouth and go like that. That's it. I just made a happy mouth coming off of the bird. And actually, I think this bird is even better. I think that happy mouth comes down a little lower, but that's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw another happy mouth going up that way. See, it's a little skinnier than this bird, but that's okay. It's also not a perfect happy mouth. That doesn't matter either. I kind of like the shape of that, the way it goes. Now I'm going to connect the two happy faces to make the back end of my bird, like the tail. In this bird, one of the cool things they do in El Salvador, they don't do feathers the way we did feathers in Costa Rica. They add little lines and put footballs at the end. And I really like that because it kind of makes it look like they're moving in the wind. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some lines off the back of my bird. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top of the head. Very simple. On the tips of each of those lines, I'm going to add a football. So you know football is sad mouth, happy mouth, sad mouth, happy mouth. We've done that so many times. Sad mouth, happy mouth, sad mouth, happy mouth, sad mouth, happy mouth. See how now I have these feathers that look like they're blowing in the wind? I'm going to do the same thing on the feathers on the top of the head. Easy. Okay, so what's left? What are we missing? Our bird certainly can't fly without these. What do we need? Patience? You know this. Patience, yours is probably 5 pages long and the biggest, craziest bird ever, which is awesome. So you could do it however you want, but we need our wings. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my wings. My wings, you can just do straight triangles. I arched mine a little bit, almost like you know what it looks like? A shark fin, right? It looks like a shark fin. So pretend you're putting a shark fin on the top and an upside down shark fin on the bottom. Oh, that looks a little weird. Ooh. I think I'm going to make this one a little fatter. I'll go out like this and make that part of the design. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so now I have my bird drawn. So the next part that I want to do is actually, you know what? Now this is going to bother me. See how this is that much bigger than this one? I have to make this one a little bigger too. So I'm going to go ahead. That looks better. Sorry. Has to be right because Mrs. Jones, you know, I have my ways. So now, remember when we did the landscape in, I think it was Nicaragua? We have to do another landscape along the bottom. So we're going to make little hills. And all I'm going to do is start with a little hill over here, add another one going this way, maybe one a little taller, maybe one a little smaller, and one like that. There we go. There's my hills. I want to add a sun. And then we're going to talk about how to make those look like the farm fields that we did last time. But let's talk about design. The design inside my bird can be done any way you want. So my bird's going to be different. I'm going to make this one look different from this one. I'm going to start with my eye. And I like to put my little mark in there to make sure that my eye has that little white glare on it, right? And I think underneath the neck, I'm going to do a zigzag line. Actually, I think I'm going to double that zigzag line up because I like that. Now the body, I put long swirls on this body to make it look like it was flying. Like, you know how you can make the wind when you do a puffy sky? So you can go ahead and do that. They use a lot of swirls in El Salvador in their art. So you can make it look like the wind is blowing, right? But I'm going to add some more to this that I did not add on here. I think I'm going to add some circles near my swirls. And I'm going to put the same circles on each one. I also think I'm going to add maybe one more big swirl back here just because I like swirls. And now my wings. I want to make sure that my wings are designed very similar. So I'm going to go ahead and even up those lines so that it looks the same, but I want to add some stuff. So what could I add? Maybe I could add some zigzag lines that are pointing toward the tail, because that will make it look like my bird is flying this way, right? Do you see that? Isn't that cool? So now I have all these designs in my bird. Let's work on the designs on the ground. We want to make it look again like it's some type of a field. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to draw my lines like it's a farming community, very agricultural. Okay, maybe even one more down here. And then I'm going to add some circles. Maybe they're growing cabbages or lettuce here. So I'm going to make this one a little bit polka dot. I'm going to leave this one solid. I'm going to go ahead and put lines on this one, but I'm going to head in the other direction. And then I think I am also going to put lines on this one and add some circles to those lines. So now I'm flying high above the terrain or high above the sky. If you wanted to, now you don't have to do this, but you have to think of scale. We talked about this when we did Hokusai, right? In order to make something look bigger or closer to you, the stuff that's near it or the stuff that's in the image should be smaller to make the bird look bigger. So if you're in an airplane and you're flying with this bird and the ground is all the way down here, your houses should be what? Small. Scale is size. Remember, it's not what something weighs. It's the difference between how big or how small something is. So you should know this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my little tiny house. Maybe a little tiny palm tree. And so now you really get a sense of how high this bird is and how low the ground is. If you wanted to get super fancy, you could add rays coming out of the sun. I would just do rectangles. I would not do them super big. You could if you wanted to, but what we don't want to do is take away from the bird. There we go. So my drawing part is done. When you add the color is going to be whatever you want it to be. So you could think of color complements. We just started talking about this UCF where we were saying that if purple and yellow are together, they make your eyes vibrate. So green and red are color complements. Purple and yellow are color complements. Blue and orange are color complements. You could think of that when you're coloring this in. Or you could just say, well, you know what? I feel like going with my favorite designs and my favorite colors, and I'm going to hang this in my room, so that's what I'm going to go with. That's okay too. It doesn't matter. What I wanted you to know was in Central America, they still use a lot of pattern, a lot of design, a lot of animal and nature motifs. Motifs mean ideas that they use because that's what they see and that's what they know and it's what they respect and it's what they love. Boys and girls, I hope you have a really good time doing this. If you do make one, please take a picture and post it for me because I would love to see it. I will be checking to see what's done. So when you have an opportunity, I would love to see a finished one of these. Boys and girls, I hope that you have a really great day. I miss you so much. I miss you every single day. I can't wait to be handing out breakfast tickets again. Bye, guys.